Hey, everybody. Thanks for tuning in to the Wilderness Attitude Podcast. I'm your host, Brandon Waddell. Appreciate you downloading and subscribing to give us a listen. Really appreciate that. Hope everybody's having a great day. Kick back and enjoy the show. Hey everybody, it's Brandon, your host, Wilderness Attitude Podcast. Thanks so much for joining us today. I appreciate you taking time to listen to the show and be a part of what we got going on. We sure do love sharing with you these wonderful people that we're meeting and that just live in the spirit of the wilderness attitude. It's always my pleasure to get to know someone new and learn things from them, be humble and open and understanding how other hunters and other people appreciate the wilderness. And so hopefully I think I shouldn't say hopefully I think you will. I think you're really going to enjoy my next guest. She's a strong, driven huntress. She's living in Oklahoma. She's from North Carolina. She's been led in the wilderness somewhat by herself. She's self-taught, but I think that God and her husband Adam are continuing to guide her in the wilderness and obviously making her a great huntress. One thing that's really exciting to me is that Ashley just killed her first Oklahoma buck with a black powder rifle. And needless to say, we're going to hear a little more about this story, but 3 weeks after a C-section and having birth to her young daughter named Arrow. So without further ado, Ashley, thanks so much for tuning in. We appreciate it. How are you today?
I'm good. Thank you for having me.
Right on. We had some brief time due to a bunch of technical difficulties to get to know each other a little bit. And talking about some cool hunts with my daughter and a little bit about your hunt. We can't say too much. I guess we can say some stuff, but it'll be on a show next year, right? So you're currently living in Oklahoma. You're married to Adam, and he is a pro staffer for Final Descent Outdoors on the Pursuit channel. But let's not let that take away from who you are, because it sounds to me like you're a very strong, independent woman that has come a long way in the wilderness since you were 19 years old when you killed your first buck.
Yeah. So I was hunting before I met Adam, just to clear that up. So, I mean, that's kind of how we met. It wasn't one of those things where let me, start hunting so he'll like me. I mean, I was hunting a lot and spending a lot of time outdoors before we ever even connected. So, yeah.
That's good. Well, and I think that, there's something to be said about people who come together with the same passion, right? I mean, it just lights a fire and it takes off going, doesn't it?
It really does. When you have the same interests and have the same passions, for the same things.
Right.
It really does help things out a lot. However, he has been used to hunting in Oklahoma and I was used to hunting in South Carolina. So we also had different ways of hunting. Things are different there, in both states.
Right.
I mean, not only just hunting laws and the way you do things, but deer movement and patterns and things like that were so different. I think we've been able to actually learn a lot from one another too, and learn new and different ways from each other and hunting.
So did you guys meet in the woods or at the local gun shop?
Yeah, we were walking along, and we were like, oh, what's up? No, actually,
That dude's sitting in my tree stand.
Yeah, that wouldn't surprise me either. But no, I actually used to say that. Because I used to tell my mom this. This is so funny, but she used to say, "You need to go out and meet people," and I would say, Nope. I mean, the only way I'm going to meet anybody is if God drops some perfect man down from the sky right here on the farm in front of me. Like, that would be the person I would marry. Somewhat that's how it happened, but not really. But no, we met through some mutual friends. I would say through Facebook, and I was just kind
Mhm.
of networking in the outdoors, and that's kind of how we connected, and we started talking through. It's kind of a long story, but it's really funny because I remember seeing him on TV one day on the show and thinking, "Oh, he is so cute," but I know he's got to be married. He's got to be married.
Right.
And so I go and I stalk his profile, and he's got a picture of him with this girl that's really cute, and they have the same last name. And I'm like, oh yeah, he's married. Well, it turns out it was his sister.
That's
So I was like,
awesome.
yes. But no, but that's how we connected, and we started going back and forth and flying, and we knew immediately it was like it was perfect. So here I am in Oklahoma now. So
Well, that's a cool romantic story. I like it. I think that's fantastic. You got your stalker mode on and tracked him down, and you had,
yeah,
maybe God cruised you down that path a little bit.
he
Says,
did. He
I'll let you
definitely.
be a I'll let you be a stalker today because it's good intentions. That's funny. So you killed your first buck when you were 19, but I can't imagine that that was the first time you ever went hunting or were ever in the outdoors, right?
No, I mean, I can remember being really little, and mom and dad, they used to actually go on dove hunts. They didn't hunt big game, but they would go shoot dove. That was kind of their thing to do if they went hunting. So I can remember going to the dove field with them when I was
Mhm.
really little. And my grandmother was an avid fisherwoman. I mean, she fished probably every day of her life, honestly.
Wow.
Um, so I was always outside. I mean,
Hmm.
times are a little different now, but when I was growing up, it was like there was nothing to do inside. I mean, you wanted to be outdoors, so you were outdoors all the time when you were little. So it really, I mean, my grandma taught me how to kill a snake. I remember I was like probably 7 years old,
Yeah.
and I remember her saying, "Okay, this is how if you see a poisonous snake, this is how you do it." And she taught me how to like protect myself
Hmm.
when I was outside, if I needed to. Or she taught me how to go fishing and just be an outdoorsy person, I guess you would say.
Right.
So
So did you ever do Girl Scouts or anything like that organized, or was it just a free for all for you as a kid?
I just went wandering off in the woods a lot when I was
Yeah.
little.
Were you an only child?
No, I have a sister. I have
Yeah.
an older sister. Yeah, we were 5 years apart, so I think that there was we like to fight a lot back in growing up. So
Right.
he was probably really happy when I would disappear.
What about cousins? Did you ever go hang out with cousins and do
Um,
stuff like that?
yeah, my cousins were out of state at the time, so let's see. I spent a lot of time with. I had a neighbor that actually his name was Adam too, and he was my like a brother to me. So
Right.
growing up, like him and I, that's probably partly why I'm a little bit of a tomboy. But like we would always ride 4-wheelers and go karts and just play outside. Like that
Right.
was our. We had to be outside all the time. So
So who do you think is? Do you think it's your grandma that was probably the biggest influencer in your life to getting you outdoors and kind of making you this outdoorsy tomboy, if you will?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so. We actually named our daughter. I never would have thought that, but we named her middle name is Minnie, and we couldn't decide. My grandmother's name was Minnie, and so we couldn't decide what to name her. So we drew out of a hat the night I was actually being induced, and we were like, okay, so it is Era Minnie. We just hope that she's not a really big person
Some
because
of you
her
make
name's
it.
Minnie now. But yeah, I do think that because I mean, I can remember coming in for lunchtime. We would watch the Andy Griffith show, and when it was over, she'd cut it off and she'd say, "Let's go outside," and we would go back outside and we would work in the yard. And so I definitely feel like she was the one that kind of instilled that more outdoors attitude in me. Yeah.
That's pretty cool. Well, you're very lucky. I didn't get to spend much time with my grandparents. One of my grandpas died when I was extremely young. The other one died when I was about 9, and of course he lived in Asheville, North Carolina, and we lived out here in Colorado. So I never got to spend much time with my grandparents. Although my dad really was the one that took me out. But it's always nice to hear when people tell me that their grandparents passed something down to them. For
Hmm.
some reason, that just really seems a lot more meaningful to me because it's a greater lineage of heritage and time of and the timing of when they grew up. So what they taught you was simpler and more basic, but much more necessary.
Yes, I agree.
Right.
I agree. I really wish that we were in more simple times now.
Right.
You know, think that I think that's probably why people who love to be outdoors, like really, they crave that because they crave that more simple life,
Mm-hmm.
where it's not so complicated, not so loud and cluttered. They
Right.
want to be somewhere quiet, simple, peaceful, where it's easy. It's easier for your heart and your mind to process things out there. It's so much better for you as just a to develop you into a good person, a good human, I think personally. So,
Yeah. I can't disagree with you at all. I think that everybody needs to be outside. I think everybody has a calling to the outdoors in some fashion or another. And I think that sometimes people overcomplicate getting there. You
agree.
know, like it's got to be this big thing.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, we're all guilty of it, even myself. It's like, well, I gotta go buy a camper, and so I can take my wife camping, and we're gonna have to have this and this and this. And good Lord, after 3 years on a camper, I got so much stuff in this thing that I'm like, at the end of each season, I'm like, I don't need this anymore, and I don't need this, and I don't need this, but I'm gonna put 10 more things in.
I'm
But
dying laughing because if my husband is actually even listening to this right now, he's probably dying laughing too because that is so us right now. And it's so frustrating. I
yeah,
mean, it seemed like it was so much easier to just go outside. And now
yeah.
it's like our garage is full. We bought a camper too, but because we
Oh,
needed it for our hunting lease.
just wait, because now you have a kid. So a kid is a whole nother mess of stuff
Well,
that's
we've
got to
been to
go.
deer camp twice since she's been born, and she's only 6 weeks old. Okay.
Right?
So we had to pack down 2 trucks. We had to take all, like, literally, like, take her pack and play, everything of hers, everything of ours, all of, I mean, and my poor husband, I was thinking, like, back in the day, I'm sure he could just grab his bag and go out the door. And now he's got
Yep.
to pack a village of people because
Yep.
someone has to go with us now because they have to be able to watch her too. So
Yep.
we can actually go out. So it is so complicated now. And that can be a little frustrating. You want it to be more simple, but
Yep.
unfortunately, times change. And
Times
not,
are changing. But
yeah.
see, what's cool for me is that I have 9 children, and at one point there would be 7 of us, 7 kids, and 2, 3, 4 dogs that would
Oh,
all go camping. And man, I'll tell you, I had a lot of fun. There's no doubt about it. I had a lot of good times and a lot of amazing memories from what we've done in the last 3 years with this camper and taking them. But there's times I get home and I'm just like, oh my God, this is crazy. You know, this is supposed to be more relaxing than this. But
yeah. Yeah.
um, so you're on the way up and I'm on the way down because I've got kids moving out. And so I'm down to like 3 that go camping, maybe 4. And it seems like it's getting easier and easier. That's for sure. It's crazy,
Yeah.
but enough about me. Um, so you spend a lot of time. Do you think that whitetail is your passion?
Definitely.
Yeah.
There are other things that get me a little bit excited. But there's just, and it's not even the fact of bringing home something, like it's not even killing something. It's just, I think an obsession that I just have with them. They're just,
Right.
I don't know, just learning about them, watching, reading. I mean, they know, we think that they don't know that we're there, and they know that we're there. I think especially if you spend a lot of time in one area, that's one thing that have experienced is I felt like there were deer out there that knew me, if that makes any sense, and got to the point where they really just didn't even mind me being there anymore,
Wow.
because I spend so much time out there. And it really had gotten to the point before I moved here where I really didn't, it wasn't even about killing something particularly. It was just about being out there and spending time and almost just seeing how close can I get,
Right.
without even having to carry a weapon,
Yeah.
just let me sit by this tree and how close can I get
Hmm.
to this deer and it really not mind anymore. That kind of thing. Was kind of what got me fueled a little bit. So,
So, what do you think when it comes to whitetail? Um, what's probably the most amazing thing you've learned about them over the years of trying to get close to them?
let's see. I'm sitting here thinking while I'm looking at all of my husband's beautiful deer on the wall. Um, just that I feel like they have like a sixth sense.
I knew you would say that.
Did you? Okay, so I do. I feel like they have like a sixth sense,
Yeah.
and if you watch them close enough, you'll see
Hmm.
that, you
Hmm.
know, and you're like, this deer knows before he even comes in that I'm there, but you can tell by the way that they walk, the way they hold. If you really pay attention, I mean, and it might not be that they have a sixth sense, but it might be more of a. I feel like the wilderness around them alerts them
Hmm.
that you're there.
Hmm.
That type of thing. Like there's this overall language I feel like out there that they just know, and it sounds like a Disney movie sort of, I guess. But
Yeah.
I really do feel like there's just like this language out there. If you listen to squirrels and the way that they alert and different birds and things like that, like my grandmother taught me a long time ago. Um, there's a certain type of bird cry, and she would always say there must be a snake. If you hear that type of bird cry.
Right.
Um, but I mean, I do feel like there's just maybe overall language out there that alerts them that we're there so that they know,
Hmm.
when they come in,
Hmm.
they're more cautious. But yeah, I do feel like they have a sixth sense. And that to me is pretty cool.
Yeah. I just posted a video of some whitetail that we videoed and they do. They just it's like they're really an open book. Their body language tells you everything you need to know if you've paid enough attention to what they're doing, right? But I've always believed that both of the things you said. The forest, the wilderness, it has its own frequencies. It has its own things going on. And if anything outside comes into it, it changes. And whether I'm not sure if that really relates to the sixth sense, if it's combined, connected, or something, but I think whitetail have the highest sense of that sixth sense, if you will, over any other animal I've ever been around or hunted, right? And and you can see that in them more because they really show it. And then they're just their characteristics of a lot of stuff they do between how they scrape and how they scrape the ground and just different things they do that mule deer don't do, which is what I primarily hunt for deer. And so they just have different tendencies. And with have you ever hunted mule deer?
No, not
No.
yet.
So I meet a lot of people from back east that haven't hunted mule deer, and they're like, I had this one friend of mine from Kansas that moved out here, and he's like, "Oh, I got a mule deer tag. I'm archery hunting. I'll be done in the first couple days. No, 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 no. Because if you can hunt whitetail, you can hunt big deer with mule ears, right?" I said, well, you be careful because you just said why you won't get one in 2 days. Because they have huge ears. They can hear further, I think, than a whitetail. And so it's harder to close that distance. And we're so much open here
Yeah,
that that makes it harder. And he
yeah.
didn't kill one.
Ah,
Not the whole season he didn't kill one because he thought it was going to be so easy and
I don't
it
know that I would
wasn't.
do it talking that big about it. I think I would have had to be a little bit like, okay, I don't think so, but we might, or maybe there's a,
Right.
but no, yeah, that's. But you're right. That's pretty cool way to look at it.
It's interesting. But I'd love to hear. I'm glad that you said that because I've really been thinking about that here lately with some of those whitetail videos that we've been going back through to post on Instagram, and just the more I watch them, I'm just like, wow, they really are that connected. You know,
Yeah, yeah.
it makes it tough. So you've had a lot. You've had enough experience in the wilderness that it's you're now doing you're writing about it, right? You're pushing stuff out into your stories and your photos into some local magazines and other stuff. um, what inspired you to absorb all this and then put pen to paper and to begin sharing what you've learned?
Um, for me, honestly, I was going through a really hard time in my life, and I just started spending a lot of time in a deer stand. Is basically what happened, and I would sit and think a lot, and I think I healed. Like I went through a lot of healing,
Mm-hmm.
and it healed me, and
Right.
so just I grew up like in my heart. I guess you would say spiritually. Like I just grew up and I got over a lot, and um, I just wanted to share that. And so actually my day job is very, very night and day different, and the way that I am when I'm not at work, because I actually am a skin therapist at a medical spa. So it's just
Right.
a really like kind of like girly, and I don't want to say superficial, but it's just more of like that kind of atmosphere, and
Right.
that's just not who I am as a person. So I really had to like it helped me to feel normal again to be out there too. I think like I had to be
Balance.
outside and feel like okay, that's not exactly like who I'm not a fake person inside, so I don't want to feel like
Right.
that all day. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I actually had a patient of mine who was involved with a local newspaper, and they had the local publication, and I got to know her a little bit and just share like some of my stories with her, and she was like, we need to do a story about you. So that's kind of how that started, and then it turned into, well, we want to put you on the front of the magazine, and so they did that, and then they asked me to just start writing some little short stories, which I did. So that's kind of, and it just helped me too to just, I wanted to be able to share those things with
Right.
people, share how much I've grown, and
Mm-hmm.
just, I feel like people can relate to it, and,
Gotcha.
like touch other people's hearts as well. And so now that I'm in Oklahoma, I do not have like a connection here yet to actually write. And like I've tried like to submit some photos. I'm not like a professional photographer, but I do like to do some things. And so I've submitted some photos and tried to look for some outlets to write. So hopefully something like that will line up for me in Oklahoma,
Right.
because I'm not in South Carolina anymore. So I kind of have to make new connections here. So
Right. So what was the time frame on this in your life when you got to start putting a few things on paper and getting it into the magazine?
the time frame, you
Yeah.
mean?
Was it a couple years ago? A
Yeah,
year ago?
yeah.
3 years ago?
Probably I've been in Oklahoma 3 years,
Okay.
so it's been
Gotcha.
about the time that I moved here. Yeah.
I gotcha. So you shared through some of your writings let me clarify. You shared through some of your writings about your growth in your life and how hunting helped you.
Sort of like a connection, yeah.
Yeah.
Or just more so like my experience of being out there and what it's
Mm-hmm.
like to be out there and how it helped me to grow
Right.
while there. Yeah. And
So if you could tell the listeners, like, what was one of those life changing moments in the wilderness for you so far in your life? What, where were you spiritually, mentally, or physically? And then what happened out there? Can you recall a certain one that is probably the most empowering one to you and tell it to the listeners?
there's a couple of them, I think. If I had to
Okay.
guess, there's one that was a really long time ago, and then there was one that was more recent. The first time that I really had like that life changing like turn, I remember where I was sitting and which stand I was in, because it was one that I actually didn't sit in a lot. It wasn't my favorite
Mm-hmm.
spot, so to say. And I actually remember like the lighting, you
Okay,
know.
so tell it to us.
So
Tell it
it
to us.
like it was getting to be dusk dark,
Mm-hmm.
and it was a little bit foggy, like over the field that I was looking into. And I can remember just like putting my head down and just honestly, I was just praying. And I can remember just saying this one particular prayer and just letting everything go. And I was just like, take it from me. I'm ready to just let it all go. And I really remember it's like everything just left me. It lifted off of me. I could feel that.
Yeah.
And that was probably the first time. And I remember after that, it was just like it was a life-changing moment for me. Um, the second time that I had something happen outdoors that really changed me was, and I'll try not to get too choked up talking about this one, but there was this particular buck that I was hunting, and I,
Did
had
he
a
have a
moment.
name? Did he have a name?
Yeah.
What was the
Um,
buck's name?
well, we named the buck what I said when I saw his picture on the trail camera. So just imagine.
Okay. Okay. Well,
Because I was
what?
actually on the phone with my husband at the time. I was looking at the camera cards, and I said, "Oh crap!" That's what
Right.
I said. So we named him Oh Crud.
Uh
That
huh.
was his nickname. But I see his picture, and then this. It was a nighttime. It was a nighttime picture, but I guess you would say buck fever, and I mean, it was like bad. I mean, it
Right.
was like the worst I've ever experienced because this deer was amazing. I mean, it was like nothing that you've ever seen in the Carolinas, I know for sure. And I got obsessed, and I would go home on my lunch break. And I mean, like, I would be crawling in my camo across the field, like quiet as I could be in the middle of the day. Like, I would hunt every second I had a chance. And so I finally got a good picture of him in the middle of the day. And what he was doing was he was just trying to get fueled up for the rut. So I got
Mm-hmm.
a 11 o'clock in the morning picture of him. I remember after my first patient that morning, like I ran home, took a no scent shower. I mean, like decked out, crawled to my stand as quiet as I could. And I sat there for hours. And I had just gotten to the point. I was like, I'm not going to see him. I'm like, he's not coming out. It's getting late. And it was probably around 2:15 or so. I look up and he's walking straight towards me.
Wow.
And words cannot express like the emotion that you feel because you can't believe that you're actually seeing this deer in front of you. I didn't think there would ever be a chance, to be quite honest.
Right.
And that's what I mean about sixth sense, because he came straight in to me, and literally, like I had my crosshairs on his shoulder, and I could have shot him right in that moment. And he just stopped and just looked to the side, and he just had this look on his face like, I know you're here. Something's a little off, but
Right.
he couldn't exactly figure it out. He didn't smell me. He didn't get wind or anything. He knew something was different. And so I just kept breathing and telling myself, okay, Ashley, be patient. He's going to come in closer. You're going to have a better shot. You know, my whole idea was I'm not going to injure this deer by just getting too excited and taking a bad shot. I'm a little bit OCD with my shots, so I will not take one unless I know it's perfect. And
Right.
so I just told myself, be patient. He's going to come in closer because he always did. You know, he always did on the camera pictures. So I took a minute to breathe and I waited, and this little doe just hopped out, and he turned and he walked into the woods, and I didn't take that shot. And I thought, he's going to circle around. He's going to come back. He wasn't, you know, he had not made his way through yet, and I didn't see him again. That was it. That was my moment.
Oh, crap.
Thing, like, my life. Because, and I was thinking about it the other day, because this is what ended up happening. Somebody found him dead. So,
Bummer.
I don't know. There was a rumor out there that maybe he was shot poaching, someone that was out poaching, and maybe they had a bad shot.
Right.
He was an old deer. I don't know if it could have been old age. I'm not really sure exactly what happened to him, but he was found dead. And they did have a picture of his our farmer that farms our property sent me a picture of his rack, and they said they found him. And man, my heart just broke. I mean, just completely broke, because I was like, that deer, like, that was my moment, and I missed out. And he, you know, if he was poached, like if they did get an unethical shot on him, then he had to suffer, like that kind of thing, you know, like that's what it kills me, you know, just to have to think of having to suffer that way. But I learned from that experience greatly, a lot about myself, about hunting, and just that moment with that one deer, the deer of your life, basically.
Right. So what did you learn about yourself? What did you learn?
I will never hesitate. Never hesitate again. I had a good shot on him.
Right.
But
you wanted a perfect shot.
Yes.
Right.
And I think, you know, you have to find that balance and not be so OCD about it.
Right.
You know, like I think it's a good thing to make sure you want that good shot. But I did have a good shot. I just told myself, be more patient, just calm down. And I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. My husband's like, Ashley, just live it, you know, remember that moment where he said, you probably haven't been excited since that moment, have you? And because it takes a lot to really get me excited. And I was like, I don't think I have. But I think I just learned a lot about, like, just when you have that chance to don't lose it.
Trust yourself. Trust yourself.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I could have had him. But, you know, those are one of those moments that you really want to forget, that you're like, just don't ever remind me of that ever again, you know? But I think it's good to, you might have seen on my Instagram, I posted some pictures of him.
I did scroll through that. I didn't look at him specifically. I was looking at a few different things on there, but I'll check back in, check it out, and the listeners can go check him out, and they'll probably understand. Oh man, right?
Yeah.
What a bummer.
Definitely. Yeah.
You know, I think for me too, in the beginning of hunting, I always wanted that perfect shot, and I had plenty of ethical shots that I didn't take because I wanted a perfect shot. I wanted to be closer. I wanted it to be perfect. I wanted it, you know, all these things. And it took me a few years and making some good shots to realize that I'm a good shot and that I should, you know, trust myself. Take it. You know, I had to have a friend of mine tell me, I had to print out on a little label maker and put it on my bow. It says, let it fly. Because he was with me a handful of times, and he was just like, why didn't you shoot that buck? And I'm like, it just wasn't right. And he's like, what wasn't right? He's like, I've seen you shoot. That is an easy shot for you. Why would you not shoot him? And I was just like, I just wanted him to quarter out just a little bit more. And he's just like, Brandon, You are not standing in your arena shooting a 3D deer. It's never going to be perfect. You
Yeah.
need to let it fly. And
Yeah.
from that day, I was like, ding, I need to let it fly. And he says, they're not going to die if you don't let it fly.
Yeah.
So, so then I started, realizing that it, I have to make that question right. You have to take that moment and say, ethically, am I right? And if it's an ethical shot, then from there, it's gone, right?
Yeah.
So I do the same thing. I had to trust in myself, and I had to be sometimes too much patience. But, I shot a couple elk here in the last few years, and I don't even remember placing the pin. I don't remember the whole shot sequence. And I had a video of myself making a shot, and I couldn't believe how fast I drew and how fast I shot. And I had a good double lung shot, but I kept replaying it, thinking, that's too fast, right? That's going to bite you in the butt. So this year I decided that I was going to work my way through my shot sequence more. I was going to really be in the moment and tell myself to breathe and really place my pin and take it all in. And I did that this year, and I didn't get the bull of a lifetime because I needed another second and a half before something happened behind me that scared this bull off. Had I just done what I always done, I'd have smoked him.
Yeah. See?
Sometimes you gotta let your intuition. Yeah, sometimes you gotta let your intuition do its thing. Your muscle memory, everything that you practiced, all you worked on, right?
That's
And
right.
you gotta make the shot.
Yeah.
Because you won't get it again.
You won't get it back again. It's gone forever. You will
Yeah.
never get that moment again.
Most of the time that is the case.
Yeah. And actually my song, isn't that crazy when you have a song for a deer? That's how you know you're obsessed, is when you actually like have a song for a deer. But my song for him is Lose Yourself by Eminem. Like that whole intro.
Nice.
Like if you just had that one moment.
Yep.
Capture it, or would you let it slip? And I let it slip.
Yep.
And it'll tear you up a little bit. So
Well, you're a pretty humble hunter, I think. I mean, that hunting takes hard work and time, and there's more lows than highs, and there's more to learn than harvesting. And so, as a huntress, trying to get yourself in these situations with these animals and doing all these different things, what do you think your best advice would be to women huntresses that are striving to do better in the woods and put in their time and stuff? What's your best advice for a woman hunter these days?
be yourself, and don't compare yourself to other people out there.
Right.
The industry has gotten really saturated with hunting models.
Mm-hmm.
I know that's probably a little bit of a tricky subject to get on, but I really do feel like there's a lot of hunting models out there and not really true huntresses or people that really have a heart for hunting. You see that in some of the pictures of people like holding a bow backwards in their hunting picture. I mean, there's proof out there, but just be yourself and don't compare yourself. It's easy with social media the way it is these days. I follow a lot of people on Instagram particularly, and you just scroll through and you see a lot of huge deer being killed by a lot of cute girls or beautiful women, and they have and some of them are just authentic, like really hardcore huntress people, and you know the difference,
Yeah.
but there's some out there that can just walk out there and get it baited up to them, and it's easy. They don't put in that work. It's so much more rewarding when you go out and you cut back the limbs and trim back trails to your stands. And when you help hang the stands yourself and you're checking camera cards and you're having to go home and pick all the ticks off of you, or, you have bites all over you. It's hard work.
Yeah.
It's not for the faint, like you have to kind of be tough, especially it's not as easy to hunt Oklahoma as it was for me to hunt in South Carolina. So I've had to toughen up a little bit even here, but, it's just so do the work yourself and just be involved with it, and
Right.
and just be yourself and don't compare your deer to other people. What's your trophy is your trophy, whether it's a
Right.
doe, a spike. Be proud of it. You don't
Right.
have to say, oh, I got meat in the freezer, to kind of like justify because your deer isn't as big as everyone else's. It's not about that. It's about your trophy, your moment, what you learned in that moment, and you feeding your family. I mean, all of that's what's important. So,
Right. Well, that's good advice, because I've even talked with my daughters about who they follow in the hunting world and things like that at times, and I always try to send them somebody that's like, hey, you should follow this lady, you should follow this lady, try to give them some good role models to look at and watch and grow from. So who's your biggest role model in your life when it comes to the outdoors, whether it's celebrity or anybody in your life, or
oh goodness, I don't know. Like, there's a lot of people that I follow, but I would say there's a couple of people particularly or I know of one girl particularly that I love to follow. That she is, and you've probably heard of her, but Becca Garris,
mm-hmm.
Wilderness Babe. I love her. I just feel like she's real, and
Right.
she's so involved in everything that she does, from like field to plate. Like she just had a cookbook, I think, that just came out with, her recipes, her wildlife recipes and things like that. So, great bow fisher woman, like
Right.
she's a huntress. I really like her a lot. So,
Right on. So, you know you're just a genuinely good person, and I can feel that, through this interview. I mean, your passion is undeniable. Your your reasoning for what you do and being yourself, and I mean, you've put yourself out there on Instagram. um, you've expressed your faith. You've expressed your love for being pregnant, and maybe days when it wasn't great.
uh,
And and you show how much you love your husband. You show how much you care about your genuine friends. And just that's what attracted us to finding you and talking to you. And so I think that your message is awesome. I think that who you are and what you're doing, and I'm super excited to hear about, you're going to be on the show next year. So I would really like to hear more about that, because I think having people like yourself on TV and in front of my children and other people's children, and the future of the outdoorsmen's and kids, bridging that gap we're losing hunting, is awesome. So tell us about where you're kind of going right now with stuff.
so my husband, he films for Final Descent Outdoors, which is a outdoor hunting show, but it's Christian based. So basically, like at the end of every episode, Brad Clay, who's the host and owner, he will speak like a little word at the end, and have some scripture with it. But it's kind of geared towards the men who sit home on Sunday mornings and they're just kind of kicked back in the recliner, and it airs Sunday morning. So, I mean, it's just kind of like a good way to connect with that kind of crowd. But
Yeah.
also, a lot of I ended up being my husband's hunting partner. So I go out and I film him, and he films me. So we just take turns hunting and filming. So that's just kind of like where we're at. And we've had, and you'll hear about this more if you watch the show next season, but we've had some rough times hunting the last couple years. We actually had a lease that we paid for, and the guy took our money and like disappeared, and like
Oh,
it wasn't his land to lease. I mean,
oh
we've had
no.
things like that happen.
Yeah.
We've had lease from this particular person for a couple of years, and super person, but the land didn't produce any deer for us to harvest. And it's a lot of work. It's not like you're just walking like I used to out the back door on my farm and hunting. Like we have to drive, we have to cut lanes, we have to hang stands, we have to take down. I mean, we have a camper we stay in out there, but we've put in a lot of hard work and it hadn't paid off. So this year, finally, it paid off.
That's awesome.
I never would have thought it would have been 3 weeks after my C-section, but we traveled. Our lease was about an hour and 45 minutes away, and we went there. We packed the baby, and we went. And anyway, like I said, I shot my first Oklahoma deer with black powder.
That's pretty cool. Now, do you have a new camper, or do you still have the old camper?
The camper isn't in very good condition.
Okay.
It's like hail damage. I mean, you know the storms that come through here. I mean, in Oklahoma. So like it's pretty rough. Actually, it's for sale if anybody's interested. We'll cut you a really good deal.
A real good deal, huh?
Yeah.
But I thought what you said about that old camper was pretty cool. You know, that where you get to take a bath with no scent wipes and paint your face like you're going into battle. We eat beanie weenies and weird meat out of cans. It's where we learn, where we grow, where we pray. It's where God shows himself in butterflies and the song of a bird. It's where we wait for our destiny to walk out of the shadows of the deep woods. It's in our blood. It's in our bones. It's what we do. I thank the good Lord for our very own. And that's pretty awesome.
I forgot I had written that. Thank you.
I mean, that embodies that old camper. I mean, that's an old camper, man. But I bet
Yeah,
even though you'd let go of it real cheap, when it leaves, you're gonna cry because you've got some memories in that baby.
you're right. We definitely do. We do.
I think I just was looking through that earlier and I was like, that's pretty cool, man. So something else I noticed off your Instagram that I think my daughter would kind of maybe want me to ask, but I saw you using a nebulizer. And do you struggle with asthma in hunting?
I do. My asthma has gotten so much better since I moved to Oklahoma, though. I don't know
Yeah.
if it was like back home. It's a lot of pollen in South Carolina, you know, and a lot of things I was probably more allergic to, like molds and stuff. So since I've been here, it hasn't been as bad. I did
That's
have
good.
pneumonia a couple times since I've been here, so I had to go back and use that again. But yeah, I do have asthma and struggle with that a little bit, as well as, you know, you probably didn't see on my Instagram. I got in a really bad car accident when I was 17. I don't know how old your daughters are, but I was 17. I got in a really bad car accident. I broke my back in 8 places. I crushed 8 vertebrae in my back. So, you know, that's always, I'm healed. I'm fine, you know, but, you know, there are days where things are a little harder on me, you know. I mean,
Right.
I'm not a spring chicken anymore. So, I mean, I get out there and it's not like I'm as strong as I used to be, you know. So, I mean, there are, you know, some limitations with that I have to be careful about. But yeah, I mean, all is well.
I mean, you're a tough cookie. I mean, you've gone through all that stuff. You still go sleep where it's uncomfortable. You still go sit where it's uncomfortable. You still go hunting. And then 3 weeks after a C-section, you go hunting? I mean, it's like
My
you're
motto is if you're not out there, you're never gonna have that chance. So you have to be there, whether it's hot, whether it's cold, even if the wind isn't right. I mean, go
right.
be there. I mean, I know people are like, I know this sounds crazy, but like hunting the wind is a big thing now that I'm out here. Back
Mm-hmm.
home, it's like you just go hunting like every chance you get. It wasn't like, well, let me make sure the wind is exactly right.
Mm-hmm.
On a windy day, it's good because you can make more noise going to your stand. You
Yeah,
know what I mean?
all yeah, more
It's
movement, more everything.
yeah. So I mean, you just have to be out there regardless. Just be there.
That's a good attitude to have, right? I mean, you can't you can't hunt nothing sitting on your couch,
Nope.
you know. So, in some of your lows in hunting, do you have tactics that help you work through the lows to keep your attitude right for hunting and when you're out in situations?
As long as you see some kind of wildlife activity, for me, normally that's enough to keep me going. You know,
Okay.
it's when you go and you don't see anything. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, time after time. I think it can get frustrating, for
Mm-hmm.
some people to just go and you're like, you never see anything ever. I think that's just a case of bad luck. I'm not really sure, what to even call that. But I don't really feel like I have to keep. I don't know. I think you either love it or you don't. And I think if you love it, you're going to go back regardless. I think that's just part of it.
Yeah, I just think, like I was describing to you earlier about my daughter, she missed a deer and then, she just kind of spiraled down like, "Oh, I'll never see another big buck and all these things." And then, she had a big buck in front of her again and she went to shoot and she didn't have a bullet loaded and, and it just was crazy mayhem for a second. But, it's, do you think that some people just kind of have that ability or not, or do you think it's something that you can work on? Is it
I
something that you can
that every time that you think it's not a good time to go hunting,
go
or
hunt?
you better go.
Right.
You better be there. Even if you don't feel like it. Like the times that I have felt like I do not, like I just don't feel like going today.
Mm-hmm.
And I went, like it always paid off. Always,
Right.
always did. But those were the days where like I actually killed something nice or something like that. But I
Right.
mean, I definitely feel like as soon as you feel like it's all over, that's when it's getting good. So
Where's your favorite place in the whole wide wilderness? Where is your spot?
on my farm back home, I know like you could go all over the world and hunt, I'm sure, but I guess home is where your heart is or your whatever. And I just know that that's where I
Okay.
feel the most peace.
Right. Okay.
Um,
So take us to that spot on the farm. You're walking out there. It's under a tree. I can see this. I can smell that. Take us to that spot.
oh, I smell pine trees, like a really strong scent of pines. And there's a picture of me on my Instagram, and I'm actually sitting on the ground in my favorite spot. That's where my husband proposed to me too. But there's a special tree, and the dirt is really soft around that tree because of the way the roots kind of lift up. So
Mm-hmm.
it's almost like you can make your own little seat cushion, like in the
Nice.
dirt there. And
Yeah.
so, like covered in pine straw. And then I find that little soft spot by the roots of that tree and just lean up against it. And there's a path along. It's actually a fire break opening at the back of our property, but there's this like long, wide opening and certain areas fill with water. So when the deer actually start moving through, it's beautiful to see the deer just kind of file across the water and walk through all the water to get through to the
Mm-hmm.
other side.
Yeah.
Um, but that's probably my favorite spot to be while I'm outside.
Nice. And so, what does the wilderness do for your everyday attitude?
Oh, it's formed me into the person that I am. I feel like it's who I am. Like who I am is actually, it's not here, it's out there. if that makes any
Right.
sense.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I know for me, going out into the wilderness, I mean, my life is a whirlwind at times, and it can be very stressful. And you'd made mention in your Facebook page that it's somewhere where you can go to listen and to slow down and reconnect in a sense, even though you're disconnecting, right?
Yeah.
Because you're reconnecting with what's truly important.
Yeah. That is exactly right. And that's what it's all about. You have to get your tank filled somehow. I mean, because I feel like we're all running on empty out there,
Yeah.
I really do feel like everybody just about is running on empty. And the only way to fill your tank back up is to get reconnected. Maybe that's part of my Cherokee roots. I don't know, like to just be connected to the dirt somehow in some way. But being connected in that way really fills my tank back up and makes me feel human again.
Human is the right way to put it. Well, where can people find you to follow you and continue to hear and see this positive life that you're living?
I'm on Instagram, so if you want to look for me on Instagram, it's under Ashley Nicholas. I think my name is Ash Step, which was my name before I got married, but it's Ashley Nicholas, and it's Nicholas, not Nichols. I'm one of those people that my name gets switched around a lot, but it's Ashley Nicholas on Instagram, and on Facebook it's Ashley Nicholas as well.
Well, real quick, thank you so much for being a guest on Wilderness Attitude. I can't thank you enough for your time and sticking with us through some technical difficulties earlier. And it's really been a pleasure to get to know you some more, and I look forward to checking in with you sometime later. And I'm super excited for you now. You're going to get to share all this with a beautiful daughter, and that's just going to make everything even more worth what you're doing.
Yeah. We're excited. Yay.
It's going to be beautiful, isn't it?
It is.
Cool.
It is.
Well, thank you very much, and I really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
All right, we'll talk to you later.
Right on.
All right, bye.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning in to Wilderness Attitude. We really appreciate it. Something that I pulled off of Ashley's page, I want to read to you. You're packing up your sleeping bag, your lantern, and your tent, and you're off to find the life you lost. But you're not sure where it went, and I hope those mountains teach you how to stand both tall and proud, that you see your life much clearer with your head above the cloud. I hope you swim through rivers with their currents swift and fast, that they show you must be careful when you wash away your past. I hope that you are humble by the vastness of the sea, that the eagles high above you make you feel like you are free. I hope when night has fallen and your fire's just a spark, that the stars shine to remind you that there's beauty in the dark. But most of all, I'm hoping that you're learning while you roam that no matter the distance, you can always come back home. I just thought that was pretty cool, so I thought I'd read it to you. But what an amazing guest Ashley was. I really hope you enjoyed this. I think she's an amazing woman doing amazing things and just really empowers what the Wilderness Attitude is about. I hope that you guys will go check us out at wildernessattitude.com and shoot us a message. Give us a review on iTunes. Give us something, good or bad, 5 stars or 1. It matters to me what we're doing for you here, and that you guys are enjoying the hard work and the things that my team put together. And we sure do appreciate you coming and tuning in and taking away from other things that are important in your time to learn about amazing people, men and women that live in the spirit of the wilderness. Thanks so much for tuning in. We'll catch you next week.